Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Next Level Real Talk Podcast, where we have conversations on the journey of personal transformation and the pursuit of lasting peace and happiness with Sheldon and David. And welcome back to another episode of Next Level Real Talk Podcast with Sheldon and David.
I'm glad to have you guys back. Hope you had a great week and hope you had a chance to do a little sharing with your family about what you're going through in life or what life was like. Because not only do you get to have that chance to be in family, but they get to hear some history or get real life out of you. So hope you had that chance to do that. Thanks to Chris last week for hanging on. And
Hanging out, and he had
yeah,
a beautiful, inspiring story, right? So hopefully you guys have been enjoying the people that we've been bringing on, because to me, it's been some really amazing stories that we've been
mm-hmm,
able to have people share.
yep,
We have a bunch of other guests still lined up. So we have
mm-hmm,
a lot of people with sometimes schedules and stuff like that, and life gets in the way. And so, Dave, we were talking about just getting on here and talking about life, right? Real life, real talk. Like
mm-hmm,
the whole point of the show is,
yeah.
what, what goes on and how do you deal with what goes on, right?
And kind of
And
kind of a quick little check in with us. Not that it's about us, but just kind of checking in. But then talking about stories of how we're dealing with certain things and
right.
how we're just making it through this life because so much is going on.
Yeah. And hopefully, what we share can you might connect with, and you might find some comfort in. Maybe, let's say you're not the only one going through shit or whatever.
Yeah.
uh uh I do think that we've talked about it and mentioned in some of those other podcasts about just being yourself and being open, like you were saying with the homework, Dave, connecting with your family. That
Hmm.
if anything, one of our goals about this is just to be more relaxed and comfortable in your own skin and accepting and loving of who you are, right? And being able to share that with other people in the world too at the same time, right? Like
Yeah.
being relaxed. I think relaxation is one of the highest spiritual achievements, because we're not.
Hmm.
We're usually worried about what other people are thinking, or, oh my God, are they thinking it, to varying degrees, right? And so it creates that anxiety and that stress, and there's sort of a tension in your body. And
Hmm.
sometimes that's us just judging us. Oh, I didn't do well enough on this, and blah, blah, blah. So we all have that mental chatter that goes on that creates a tightness in us and an
Yeah.
inability to just relax and enjoy the moment of where we're at with people, right? Um,
Hmm.
and it does feel like the energy is getting more cranked up, more
Yeah.
intense, more there's more drama and trauma in the world. Um, Maybe it's the elections coming up. Maybe that's part of
Yeah.
the intensity of craziness, right? There's politics, there's wars, there's the
There's hot
economy,
hot weather in Phoenix. That's
there's
all I'm gonna
hot
say.
weather in Phoenix and hot weather in Roseville, where I live. You
Yeah.
got,
There
what
we
did you
go.
hit? You hit
117.
117, and we were hitting 112. So
Woo!
we're not that far off.
Yeah.
so
Other than
so
being chilly,
so that's
and
another reason why people get pissed and, right,
mhm.
short
Something's
tempered,
always,
and
yeah. And I
there
will
you go.
tell you, we're talking about the anxiety sometimes is our own anxiety. Something will happen which is outside of our realm, but then we take it personal or internal, and that anxiety blows, and it's hard. And that's what
Hmm.
I'd gone through
Yep.
talking to you about last week, um, and having to process through that. And believe it or not, talk to the family. I did learn something from our own podcast, just so you know. And so understand, people, we are learning too as we go through this process because it's just next level real. It's real talk. We don't know what's going to come. And after that conversation, the last podcast, I was like, I haven't had these hard conversations. I've had a couple, but I'm just going to go bluntly into the hard conversation with my daughter and son-in-law, and it was tough. I'm not going to tell you because one, I was had anxiety. I was kind of upset. It was nothing they did personally. It's just I just felt like I wasn't getting what I wanted, and so I went through that little stress for a while. I just came home, and I could have gone out, get a bite to eat, sat at the bar, talk to somebody, or just veg on my own. But I stayed home and dealt with the process. So this doesn't feel good. Instead of going out and drinking, I said, "Hey, I'm going to stay here and just figure out what's going on and what do I really feel." Didn't talk to anybody, didn't talk to them. I said, I need to process this. Where am I? And the next couple of days got through, and
And that's
we got
really
that text.
key, right, Dave? Is
Mhm.
um, if I could just jump in and talk about
Oh,
that, right?
yes. Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
there's one of those sayings that's out there in the spiritual community that you have to feel it to heal it, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot in certain spiritual communities they talk about spiritual bypassing and people that want to stay positive all the time, which is a beautiful thing, right? We want to keep a positive outlook, and we don't want to feel, we don't want to see all the, we don't want to stay focused or obsessed with the negative, which some people do, right? Oh, look at
Hmm.
this. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at this. And then and sometimes it can become like a woe is me. Oh, woe is me. I feel sorry for myself all the time. So there's that balance, right, of getting into wallowing in the Don Juan Carlos Castaneda books, which are from the 70s and really old. But he talked about the warriorship. It was this sort of traditional, but he talked about wallowing, right?
Hmm.
There's a difference between wallowing, right? And that energy of wallowing and that energy of feeling, right?
Hmm.
And you have to spend the time. Well, if you want to heal something, you have to feel it. You really, that is real. There's truth to that. You have to feel it to heal it. You have to be
Hmm.
willing to sit with what's coming up, allow it to come up, look at it, face it, turn directly at it, right? And without
Yeah.
judgment, right? Without like, oh my God, I can't believe this is me. I can't believe this is happening to me. Or this sometimes the mental chatter puts you in victimhood.
Hmm.
Why are they doing this to me? Blah blah blah. And
Yep.
and so just without getting into it, right? Your son-in-law and your daughter kind of did some
Hmm.
stuff, set some boundaries around their family and how they wanted
Hmm.
their family to be,
Yeah.
and you took it personally, right? It felt
Yeah.
like,
And I'll tell you, I did wallow. And
yeah,
you're saying, I'm like, "No, I did wallow. I did
yeah,
do that wallow for a while."
yeah,
Then I started saying, "This is where I am."
yep,
And I will tell you, and I almost started tearing up when you're talking because it made me start thinking of the process. Um, I just I was I had expectations and they had some expectations. I just felt like I wasn't getting something,
yep,
and
yep,
it was the grandkids. I'm not gonna lie, and
yep,
understand, love my daughter and my son-in-law, Ashley and Josh. I mean, this is just something I'm not gonna go to details about it, but know that this is life. And then, like I could have gone down and I'm not talking to him. I'm done.
yep, yep,
Screw it.
yep,
But no, and of course, I texted. We started texting back and forth a little bit more, explaining, and they go, let me explain. I said, okay. And I said, let me explain my side. Just see from my eyes.
yep,
It's not right or wrong. Just
yep,
see what I'm seeing,
yep,
and then we can progress from there. And they would say, this is where we are. This is where we are. Oh, okay. So we can agree to disagree or agree, and then move forward. And and I'll tell you, oof, if I tear up, I'm sorry. Um, at one point, it was like, I don't need to do this. Saying that about my going to see them, my grandkids. I'm like, no, that's stupid.
yep,
No, I just enjoy the moment where I am with them. Um, that no matter what capacity, no matter what timing I'm given, no matter what situation it is, just enjoy being with them. And if it's 5 minutes, great, I got 5 minutes. If it's an hour and a half, 3 days, a year, great. I get to be. I won't have them for a whole year, but if I get that little timing, and I'll tell you, within a day or two after all this hard conversations, I'm not lying to you. It was there was, and not yelling and screaming, but just like, hey, this is where I stand. This is where I stand. Um, just a couple days afterwards, I was over at their house playing with the grandkids, and then after their napping, talking with Ashley, hanging out. Um, her and I went to breakfast and just had a talk, and it was like that's all you need to do. And so, Chris, out there, hope you're listening. Thank you because you made me think. And I'll tell you, it's not an easy conversation to have sometimes because they're family, but the joy that I got out of it after, because we all grew.
mhm.
Everybody grew in the situation, and know that I did reach out to friends, and that's where that Wolfpack support comes in. So, yeah. Oh, you're
So
there. You go.
so that's beautiful. And it's not easy, right?
Mm-mm. No.
and
No, it's
and
not.
one of the things about and this is just sort of when you get into like the spiritual unfoldment and how we heal ourselves, right? And that's what some of the practices, there's another teaching that talks about returning to original wholeness, right? We're whole, our
Mhm,
wholeness in our relationships and all of that, and not being fragmented, right? So that's why they even have these things called parts therapy, where you become fragmented and disconnected to parts of who you are and parts of your beingness. And as you heal
mhm,
those things, you become more whole, right? um, the thing about family and like your partner is that it provides a level of intimacy that no other relationship has, and so
mhm.
that also provides the opportunity for healing and connection on a
Mhm.
level that no other relationship has. Does that make sense? In
Yeah.
other words,
Mhm,
the deeper that connection is, the deeper they can hurt you,
mhm.
right? Because there's a place for
Yeah,
vulnerability there,
and the
right?
more fear you have going into that hard
100%.
conversation,
Yes.
'cause
So then,
because of the fear of, "Well, I could lose this, I could lose that," or they could say, "I don't wanna be I don't love you anymore," or whatever the situation is.
right.
That could drive you to not have a
Yes.
conversation,
Yes. 100%.
which could be worse.
Yes. So then you block out of fear and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
So there's a Hindu practice where they talk about, there's different schools, right? And Hinduism is really interesting because it's like 5,000 years old. They have all these different pathways and they mapped them all out, right? Right. But, there's the pathway of the scholar where you read all the books and you study. And then there's the pathway of the monk where you pray all day. And then there's the pathway of the business owner and the family man where you just go into your life. You know what I mean?
mhm,
But one of those where they talk about that is like, you have to have these intimate relationships with your family in order to really fully connect to your creator, really, right?
mhm.
Because that's a
Yeah,
block, right? If you can't
yeah.
have that, if you
Mhm,
can't be vulnerable to your family, then how do you be vulnerable to your creator, kind of thing, right?
mhm.
Or um and they have the
It just opens you up.
capacity. Yeah, like for me and Jacqueline, it was just like, for me to say to her that she hurt me was
Mhm,
one of the freaking hard, making me wanna cry. It was one of the hardest things that I could ever
mhm,
do because it made me so vulnerable, and I'd rather be like, "Fuck you, bitch." You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, "You're not gonna get the best of me," and, "Oh, you did that, oh," and start nitpicking other shit.
Become the
Right. And then, oh, well, and it's not even conscious necessarily, right?
yeah,
And that's where
mhm,
that whole meditation, mindfulness, slowing down, taking the breath, all of those things allow those things to come up, and then you can take the time to look at what the fuck is going on here, right?
and
And
mhm.
go ahead.
Oh, so on that exact I just wrote notes. People, when I'm looking down, I'm writing notes. This old brain doesn't remember stuff. My dad always said, um, he goes, "If you get mad, don't react right away. Go have a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
come back." I have a cup of tea. I don't drink.
Yes.
I drink coffee once a day. Um, so go have a cup of tea, go have a coffee, go have a water, whatever, non-alcoholic. Then come back, assess it, and have a conversation.
Yeah.
He goes, because you're going to react. You have that
Yep.
knee-jerk reaction. You're going to say something wrong. You're going to do
Yep.
something wrong.
Say something you're gonna regret.
And exactly. And for me, taking that day and a half, kind of, and then slowly having the conversation, then we could talk. It was
Yep.
awesome. It
Yep.
was so good. So in any situation, think about that. Like Sheldon, you and your wife, you and Jacqueline are going in at the situation. You could go, "Oh, that's what I." You're like, "No, step back.
Yep.
We're both heated up.
Yep.
Let's take 5 minutes
Yep.
or whatever, and
Yep.
come back and have this conversation."
Yep.
It's hard to do.
Yep.
It's hard to back off from a situation when you're right in the middle of it. How to calm down, but if you can, um, don't react with a knee jerk reaction. Take a breath, go have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, and come back and reread your email or now start the conversation.
Yeah.
So because it will change. But yeah, that's a very great point about just stop, take a breath, see where you are, and let your brain get rid of that bad stuff that's keeping you from thinking overall.
Yep.
That may be the right thought. I don't know.
Yep.
But let your brain go, wait a minute, okay, where are we? Got the okay, now I can calm down. All that juice is simmered, and I can
Yep.
think on a regular level.
Yeah.
So,
Stop, drop, and breathe.
mhm.
Stop
Yep.
the mind thinking, drop into your heart, and then just breathe for a minute and
Mhm.
allow yourself to sort of settle down some of that
Yep.
fire of the mental process, right? It's all
Yeah.
judgment, and your mind is all about self-preservation of you, of your body, right? And so it tends to be defensive of like the body, so then it attacks. And so in the course it talks about this idea of um, all defense is a form of attack, and people don't think
Yeah.
that. They think, no, 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 I'm just standing up for myself. No, you're actually attacking other people, right? And
Yeah.
and it's because the vulnerability, the openness, the power of being vulnerable, of just sharing what you really feel to your son-in-law, right? Who could have said you're an
Mhm.
idiot, fuck you, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a
Mhm.
fear, like you were saying, all this stuff is coming up about, and same with my wife. And Jacqueline and I have this amazing, beautiful relationship. Um, so I don't want to make it sound like we're fighting all the time, but
Yeah, and by the way, I was just gonna say, by the way, they do. That was a one scenario.
No,
They have a
we're just trying to
wonderful
keep it real and say,
relationship.
hey, it's not that things haven't come up, and
Yes,
so we have, but
so
this was sort of the process, right?
Mhm.
And I think that that's important to. I always feel like I talk about it, and sometimes she's like, well, you make it sound like we have this terrible relationship, but it's like the idea that sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to find my soulmate, and then I'm never going to have an argument again. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's everything's going to be perfect.
good luck.
It's like, no, that's not reality, right?
No, it's
And
not.
this is what I'm talking about with the intimate relationships. They actually can can fuck you up more deeply than any other relationship, right?
Mhm.
Because if
Yeah,
it were somebody else who tried to do something, you just be like, yeah, whatever. You're just an idiot. I don't know you. You're my coworker,
yeah,
right? You
I
don't
don't
know
get you.
shit. You don't know me,
Yeah,
right? But when it's your spouse or your child or your,
and you connect.
somebody really, really close to you, and they say something, then it's going to, then it can cut harder, cut deeper, right?
Mhm.
So there's more sometimes, as beautiful as that is, there's more protectiveness and fear around it as well, right?
Mhm.
Which can make it, um, which can make that facing that even harder, right? What you had
Mhm.
to do, right? Because it's your daughter, right? And your
Mhm.
grandkids we're talking about here, and your son in law,
Mhm.
right? That's some really deep, intimate, powerful connections that you have. And so then they have the ability, because you've granted them that through your openness, to actually hurt you even more. Does it make sense on a certain level,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because you've been vulnerable, they know how much you love them, right? So then um, it's
And then
harder
not
to
that they're
do.
mean, not that
Yeah,
they're meaning.
yeah,
Okay, again, we gotta
100%,
understand that. Yeah,
100%. It
yeah.
has
Oh,
nothing to do with
and
that. Nothing to
yeah,
do
and
with
that's
that,
one
right?
thing. It was just their point of view. My point of view is like, oh,
Yep,
that's how you're seeing it from another person's perspective. I just wrote that
yep,
down too. You got to go like, wait a minute, where are they coming? What do you mean by that? Oh, that's what you're saying.
yep.
I'm seeing this. You're going here. Okay, I get where it's coming from, but
Yeah.
it takes that hard, you
And
know. So,
Reese, our guest a couple weeks ago, right? He
mhm,
said that the Four Agreements, was one of the books that changed his life. Well, the Four Agreements, one of the agreements is don't take anything personally.
mhm. And I did,
And
by the
it's a
way.
couple of words there. Don't take anything. Okay, cool. Easier said than done. Okay,
Mhm.
good luck. It's not
Yeah,
just, oh, okay, I won't take it personally, and it didn't. These things stir up a lot of stuff, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, it took you a couple of days, but those couple of days allowed you to not only be compassionate, respectful, and loving to yourself, right?
Mhm.
Which heals things. Love heals all
Yeah.
things, right? So then it gave you the courage to be able to say, okay, let's have this talk, right?
Mhm.
And then that allowed a coming together uh, on a
Yeah.
deeper level even than what was there before, right? Because now
Mhm.
there's a deeper sense of respect and understand, mutual respect, love, understanding, right? And we can say,
Yeah.
okay, so it's a beautiful thing, but it didn't come from, oh, I'm just going to pretend like that never happened. I'll just ignore
Correct.
it. I'm just going to
Mhm.
go. I'll go on the vacation with them anyway. But the whole time you're kind of resentful, right? You didn't do that, and that's what
Mhm.
a lot of us do is, oh, I'm not going to. I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to pretend like it never happened, or I'm just going to
Mhm.
stay focused on the positive. But really, what happens when you do that is, again, in spiritual communities, they call that spiritual bypassing. You end up ignoring and bypassing, and what you end up bypassing is yourself. You're
Mhm.
you're ignoring and disrespecting yourself. And then what happens is you end up attracting, because there's the law of mirroring and magnetism, or whatever you want to call it. What you did to yourself then becomes reflected outside in the outer world. And then you end up meeting people that disrespect you all the time. And you're like, what the hell happening? Why
And
is my boss so cruel?
yeah,
All of these things happen in your world. But when you start to look at yourself and take responsibility, you start to realize that fundamentally I'm disrespecting myself. You
mhm.
could have disrespected yourself by just pretending like it didn't happen, ignore it, you know, go on a vacation with them anyway. And there's a party that would be resentful the entire time. And then
And
you end up picking on other things they say or attacking them in
yeah,
other weird ways.
I
And
was
that,
just going to say, if you hold it in, no matter what the situation, you hold it in, you're going to be more, I don't want to say resentful, but more
sure.
picky, like you're
Yes.
saying, and more kind of what, not
It's,
enjoying
yeah.
everything. And
It's
so
like passive aggressive is what it ends up
yes,
being.
yeah, you become passive aggressive,
Yeah.
and kind of hold that against the other person at times. Like, well, I remember
Yep.
this. You may not be saying it, but your brain and your heart are going like, ugh.
Yep.
Like, no, let it go. Just let
Yep.
it go. And yeah, it's just it's part of life. And I kind of went through that with my dad's stuff, because I've been the only one caring for him and my stepmom all summer,
Yep.
and literally gave up two vacations, and that was hard.
Yeah.
And I was literally sitting in their apartment at the time, and very, I don't want to say angry, but kind of, oh, they're good. 3 hours of my day, I gotta go sit here and blah 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 blah. I ain't got time for this every day ever. Going through that, and I just sat there and I looked at them both, and they're watching TV. I'm going like, wow, I get to sit here. I don't have to come here and be with them. I get to come here
Yeah.
and
It's
be
a
with them.
powerful
So, I
way to
mean,
reframe that.
I'm being able to hang with them because
Yep.
I don't know how much time I got left, but I'm getting the ability to come see my dad and my stepmom, who's been a wonderful lady to me. Um, and so every time I go to doctor's appointment, she's like, "Yeah, it's my son. It's my son." She just calls me your son.
Yep.
So just one. At first, I was like, well, yeah, that makes it easier, but I'm not. I'm like, oh no, she's really calling me son.
Yeah.
So she really does. So it's kind of cool.
It's
And
beautiful.
and so to be able to hang with them and just talk with them and just BS with them, going like, wow. And that perspective changed a lot in my world.
Yeah.
Yes, there's at times now I'm something like, oh my gosh, I gotta go do this, but then I'm like, just back up, relax, enjoy the little time you have. Like yesterday, I just went and saw dad for about an hour and a half, maybe. I didn't spend 2, 3, 4 hours. I just went
Hmm.
there and talked to him. Son, I'm getting old. I'm tired. I said, okay, I'm gonna let you sleep. And I left.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I could sit there and watch him sleep, but why? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So it's like I got that time rather than saying, oh my God, I gotta go see dad. Maybe not go. I went, said I could spend some time, and that little bit of time is okay. So it's all changing that mindset of, yes, things get tough. You get resentment. You get kind of like, oh, what's going on? But you just got to stop back and, okay, where am I?
Yeah.
What's going on?
We You
Yeah,
had
go
talked
ahead.
about being present, right?
Hmm.
With your dad, right? And I
Yeah.
think before we even started recording, we were talking about that, right? Um,
Hmm.
future tripping. My Sarah, she called it future tripping years ago when she was like 15. I remember she said that, and it's stuck in my head all these
I
years.
love
But
that phrase, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, future tripping, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes you can sit there with somebody, and the whole time you're going, "Oh, I got this thing I got to do." So you're not really present, right? Or, so I always say there's guilt and anger, resentment, shame over the past, right?
Hmm.
And then there's this kind of fear thing over the future, right? So
Hmm.
it's like that movie projector thing, right? So the real in the future, the real on top of those who remember what a film movie projector looked like, right?
Yeah.
Here's one reel and then there's a take up reel, right? So that one reel is the future and we're future tripping in our head, and then the other reel is the past, and we
Hmm.
sometimes can be in anger. Like you could be like, "Oh, Dad, you were never there for me." Da, 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 you know what I mean? And you're hanging on to all this shit that your dad did 50 years ago or whatever,
Hmm.
right? And you're still pissed
Yes.
off or wounded, which is fine. You have to deal with those things. But if we don't, then we're just that resentment builds up, right? And so you're
Yeah.
not really present, right? And we were talking about that.
Hmm.
I remember when my mom was on her journey to exiting out and dying, right? She
Hmm.
broke her back in multiple places and ended up being bedridden, and it took about 3.5 years. And during that time she wasn't eating anything. She literally ate like one Ensure a day for like years. It was
Wow.
crazy. She was in
Wow.
hospice. She had to they took her out of hospice because she wouldn't die. And, I mean, like it was wild, but she looked like she was somebody in Auschwitz. I mean, she made them look, overweight. I mean, she was incredibly,
Yeah.
uh, it was heartbreaking to see.
I remember
And
seeing her. That was
yeah,
hard.
you came and visited at times, right? A
Mhm.
couple, and
Yeah. Mm,
I would
mm,
sit there. The weird thing was if I could get out of my head, which we're talking about here, future
mhm,
tripping or judging this scenario, like why does she have to be like this? God, why is she's suffering or whatever. Your mind is judging that scenario and wants it to be other than it is. If I could get
mhm,
out of that and kind of almost do a meditation, just quiet my mind and just be with my mom, just
mhm,
sit there and be with her, it was actually beautiful. Even when
mhm,
she couldn't say a word, she just look at me sometimes. Sometimes she didn't even look at me. I could literally feel this radiance, this love, the beauty of the love that we share in the room, filling the room. Like I could feel the vibration of it, and it was gorgeous. And I would just be like, wow, that was amazing. And usually what would happen to me, because we're all human, nobody's good at perfect at this stuff, you know, sometimes that why does it have to be like this? We float into my brain. And then I would start
mhm,
crying. Then I'd be all fucked up. Then I'd be a wreck. And a lot of times if I could, it was almost like this practice. I could sit there and just be in that moment, and that's it. The only thing I'm going to do is be here for this moment. I don't give a shit what's happening 5 minutes from now. I'm here, right now.
mhm,
And when I could do that and feel the beauty of that, and then I would leave, and half the time when I'm walking down the hallway from the hospice facility, that's when my mind would start kicking back in.
Yes, yeah.
And so Jacqueline and I would be leaving, and we'd be walking down the hallway, and I would stop in the middle of the hallway and just start bawling because in the moment, it just felt beautiful. Like I
Uh-huh.
just felt the beauty of the love. And then my mind would be like, why does she have to be like this? She's suffering. Why is it, why doesn't,
Mhm.
can she just leave or should, you know what I mean? It was weird. I would just have these, weird thoughts of, why does she have to
Yeah.
suffer like this is really the main one. And then I would
And
start
that's hard.
bawling.
Mhm,
And I was just like, wow, I was fine 5 minutes ago when I was there. It's this mental process of
mhm.
wanting something or thinking something should be other than it is.
And at the time you were sitting bedside, you're just enjoying because 'cause you're there. You're
Yeah,
enjoying that
that moment.
moment. And and I'm like you with dad when I leave, I'm just going like, I mean, and understand people out there. I mean, he's gonna be 92 August 9th. I mean, so he's 92.
Yeah.
He's old. And I want my dad here forever. I want a mom here forever, but guess what? Life happens. We move on. And I'm just like, I just don't want him to suffer. I feel like you were saying, I feel bad saying that at
Yep.
times, going like, can't God just take him and
Yep.
let him just be
Yep.
healthy and happy in heaven and
Yep.
be okay and no more? He's not suffering, but laying there in bed is not my dad. And
Yep.
so it's hard in
Mhm.
my mind, but I'm not at the point where it's like, why am I thinking so negative about my dad? It's like, no, I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with it because I've
Yep.
been at peace with dad, and dad's like,
Yep.
I'm old. And my
Yep.
okay, I got to use one line. It's one laughy line in this whole thing. So my cousins were in town. My dad's dad's side, his nephew and niece, were down. So we're sitting there at the facility. He's at a rehab facility, and we're sitting there, and he just likes to lay down. That's all he hates getting up in a chair. He hates doing anything. He wants to lay down. So he'd done therapy that morning, and then he was in the bed. And so they got here. So we got him in a wheelchair, brought him in the big room. So we're all sitting there talking, laughing, having a good time. And it was good for him. But then they go, he's like, oh, I want to get back into bed. My cousin goes, are you tired? No, I'm just lazy. I can't argue with the man.
Keeping
I'm
it
like,
real.
hey, he's like, hey, I'm just lazy. Okay, let's put you back in bed. I'm okay with that. But you have to look at those, and a couple of the people in the room were like, kind of trying to be the parent to the baby. You can't say that. You got to do this. You got to keep driving. You got to do this. I'm like, if he can get up out of bed to the bathroom or up out of bed to the recliner, that's all we need him to do.
That's victory right there.
We can bring him food. We
Yeah.
can bring him liquids.
Yeah.
He sits there in the recliner, watches TV, and goes to sleep.
Yep.
Wakes up, has an insure, watches TV, goes to sleep. Whoa, we're having a great day.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Some want him up and moving and doing stuff. I'm
Right.
like,
Yep.
that ain't gonna happen the rest of his life.
Yep.
That's my
They
dad
want
I'm
him to have
talking
more.
about.
They want him to have fight that they would have for them right
Mhm.
now. But he's
Right now.
92 and
Yeah.
he's not there.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's just like, can you accept that that's not where he's at right now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's heartbreaking on a certain level, right? It's
Mhm.
hard. It's not
Oh,
easy, you know.
I'm trying to convince, in the nice way, convince people like this is where he is. My
Yeah.
brother understands it too. Thank
Yeah.
God. He's like, that's what he's gonna be. It's
Yeah.
okay. Enjoy that.
Yep.
Yes, I'd love to have my dad up walking around, take him out to the lunch and do this or dinner, and go do these things for a drive downtown to see the old sites where he grew up. But that's not what it's going to be.
Mhm.
If we can just get up and just hang out in a recliner, cool. But that's just going to be it. I just have to get people to understand that is where he is,
Yep.
and that's an okay place to be.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle, who
Uh-huh.
has written a bunch of best-selling books and was on Oprah and all that. He's pretty famous in the whole spiritual community. He has written the book called The Power of Now. That's the one that really exploded and made him super famous. But he talks about how aging, like when you're younger, you're so active. Remember we had a podcast where he talked about doing versus being, and the
Mhm.
whole world is all about doing stuff. And we don't take presence in being and taking that quietness and the meditative moment to just be in the moment, right? That he was just like aging forces you to be. Your whole
Mhm.
life you're doing all the time. Aging literally forces you to just be in the presence because you can't do anymore. Your
Yeah.
body literally breaks down. And so it creates
Yep.
this transition into the state of being, and that beingness creates a place for you to transition. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, that's a really interesting way of putting it. That's
And that's
fascinating.
what it is.
But it's
That's
what
what
it
it
is,
is.
right? You look at it and
Yeah.
you go, okay, you know,
They were. It's
we're
like Yeah, it's like in my life going through several, not knowing what I know now. Of course, you're always better off that way. Uh, but like in several events, like in football, being at certain big games or in track or as a swim coach and going like, wow, stepping back and going like, I'm in a moment that's like, whoa,
yeah,
this is cool.
yeah,
I was doing because
yeah,
that's boom, football going, track going, swim coach, blah, 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 blah. But I'll take the swim coach one. I was at the state meet and I just stepped back and went, wow, we are at the state swim and dive meet and
yeah,
my kids are doing well. This is something I never thought I'd be doing. How cool is this? Rather
right,
than being like, okay, what's the next race? What's the do. It's
yeah,
like step back and I just got to be, and I was like so happy that I somehow, thank you Lord, because I didn't do it myself. I stepped back, and so
mhm,
nowadays I do that more. It's
mhm,
like, wow, this is the moment I'm in. Like I did with my dad. Like I'm in a moment where I get to hang out, not have to be. Have to be here. I get to be here. So it's
right.
changing that perspective. Yeah. So
A
so
lot of
yeah.
some of the athletes, you'll hear them saying that nowadays. I'm just trying to enjoy the ride, the journey of this thing,
Mhm.
you know, because they're caught up in all the, and sometimes in the UFC you hear fighters, young fighters, or whatever, right? People and all the athletes. I think there's a greater awareness in society that try to enjoy the moment rather than you're so
Mhm.
caught up in everything you're doing that you don't even get to enjoy the moment that you're in. Right.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Like,
talking about, right?
yeah,
'Cause you're like
there was an
you
inter
almost miss all those great moments in track and track that you did and special
yeah.
moments because you were so busy
Mhm.
worried about how you're gonna perform or what you're gonna do that you actually
Exactly.
didn't stop and look around and go, "Wow, this is pretty freaking cool."
I mean, when you're in the moment, you gotta be there. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
do. I mean, I can't sit there and go like, "Okay, the ball's coming my way. Oh, it's so
yeah.
cool. It's so cool." No, you
But
better be doing.
could you have, on the sideline, for a moment, just sat there and said,
Go,
"Wow, this is kinda cool,"
wow.
and
Yeah.
appreciate, those kinds of things, right? It's hard to
Mhm.
do. Um,
There was a as I we were you were talking, you and I were talking a little bit beforehand. I got to go to the Copa tournament
mhm.
here, and there was an interview
Soccer.
where yeah, soccer, sorry, yeah, Copa soccer tournament, and uh, I think it was I don't know, it was before or afterwards. We were watching another game. Obviously, we were live, then watching another game on TV, and they had interviewed one of the guys, and they go, "What's it like to be in Copa? Just kind of you're normal, isn't it?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, it's what I do. It's my job. He goes, but I love to look and say like, wow. We're in a big stadium playing soccer amongst all these people. This is fun. He goes, but when the buzzer goes off, I got to play.
I got work to do.
He goes, yeah, I got
Yeah.
work to do. And whatever, I'm paraphrasing whatever this guy else said, but it was that same old concept. Like, yeah, this is so fun to see all these people, to be in a big stadium, to do something. I'm having fun. So
Yep.
he can actually step back at times and go like, wow, this is cool.
Yep.
But when it's time to play, time to play.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah, but I think that's a big thing in life. Yeah, we have to all of a sudden be,
Yep.
which it's okay to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
when I retired, I was go, 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 go. And I stopped. I was like, what do I do?
Yep.
I'm like, wait a minute. I can relax. I can sit. I
Yep.
can enjoy.
And that's
so
part of that whole golden sun meditation thing, was taking those moments and interjecting them into your day.
mhm,
Right? It's a place of being. If you can do that 5 times a day, it's only 3 minutes, right? If you did that, that's part of what the healing transformative power of that is you're injecting a couple of minutes of being, of presence into the middle of
mhm,
all you're doing. And that
yeah,
actually really balances out, and he balances things a lot. It's pretty powerful in that, right? Because that's what you're forcing
mhm,
yourself to do. I was going to
totally.
say, if you're still listening, we're, energetically, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, right? Where you not only see it in how people are behaving, but also just how you might be feeling. And one of the things that some of the spiritual teachers and people are talking about is, as the energy, it kind of is intensifying in general. I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff I've been dealing with, Dave.
Yes.
This intensity of energy, um, is kind of like taking a big stick and stirring up the stew, stirring up the pot.
hmm
And so it can stir up the energies that are more latent within us as people. So this is what the energetic atmosphere is going on right now. Um, and there's a lot of different ways people are looking at, oh, there's a lot of solar flare activity and it's doing all this crazy stuff, and the earth magnetic poles are shifting. There's all kinds of wild stuff that people are talking about. But I do think that the bottom line of it is that it's actually intensifying the energy that we're all swimming in. It's kind of like if you were a fish in the ocean and the ocean is heating up, the water is heating up. And it's kind of like that. It's like the air's heating up, like 118 or whatever, right? But
hmm
like energetically, there's an intensification of the energy all across the planet, and people are reacting versus responding, right? Either
mm
getting triggered easier, so it's harder to take that moment to, like your father said, go grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and not. People are just reacting, which is why you're seeing all the road rage stuff happening, why you're seeing
Yep.
all the insanity
Political.
of people just going off, right? Going crazy.
hmm
Um, but it's also creating
Oh, there.
what I've been feeling is an intensity of the emotional response to things. So, and I do think that that's part of clearing. Like we were saying, you got to feel it to heal it. And it's been going on for months for me. And I think I've mentioned it before, but um, where I'll just start crying. It's stupid as it sounds, crazy as it sounds, but I'll just feel, and I've always, once I started down this journey of sort of looking at my own stuff, when I would feel connection in my heart, and like I said, I can feel the vibration and energy in my heart. When I would get down into that space of something vibrated into my heart really hard, it would make me cry. Period. Whether it was a
Mm,
prayer, whether it was energy, whether it didn't matter what it was. Um, we watched this movie called Good Person or whatever it was, A Good Person,
mhm.
with that Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman. It was a beautiful movie. I think it was on
Oh, wow.
Netflix or whatever it was. I can't remember which one it was, but it goes into addiction,
Mm,
and she, basically the plot of the story, she had killed two people. Florence Pugh. She was driving a car. She wasn't paying attention. She killed her
mm.
future sister-in-law and brother-in-law.
Oh,
Um, on the way to go fit for the wedding dress. They were going for the fittings, and she gets in a car wreck and kills her two future in-laws, and
wow.
can't forgive herself. Right? Denies that she was looking at her phone, which she was. Denies it. Right? So there's this whole thing of denial,
Mm,
and then she ends up, in addiction and addicted to opiates and going down that whole path, and then trying to process that out. And it's a powerful movie, but I mean, I dealt with this addiction in myself, and
Mhm.
an inability to forgive yourself, inability to look at what and take responsibility for where you were and what you did and stuff like that. So, and I've done a lot of work with that stuff, but I think that this movie just sort of re-hit it. And what I'm saying is, with the energy being more intense, what they're saying is it's like a deeper level of clearing of some of that stuff. And the movie ends, and I just started bawling, like bawling. Jacqueline's kind of used to it by now. I mean, sobbing, like ugly cry, as Oprah would say, ugly, just sobbing. Jacqueline, she's kind of just takes my hand and just sort of sits there and lets the whole thing process out.
Mhm.
And in that case, I kind of felt like I had a little bit of a clue. There's some addiction stuff going on in there, and
Mhm.
in some of those themes. But sometimes it's happened to me where I didn't even know what it was, like zero clue. Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I just felt something hit me in the heart, and I was just start crying. And sometimes if I just sit with it, it can be very intense. And so I'm sharing that just to say that, hey, if you're feeling intense emotions, if you're feeling intense
Mhm.
reactions to things, if you're feeling like almost on edge, um, it's okay. Number one,
Yep.
uh, that the power is in allowing those feelings to come up and to look at the feelings and to be with the feelings with compassion, without judgment, with love and compassion for yourself. And
Mhm.
that when you do that, these things can actually sometimes just process through, and sometimes nothing needs to happen other than to just be with that moment.
Mhm.
Sometimes you feel the need to have a discussion and sit down like you did, Dave, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
after you go through that process, you realize, let's talk, but you're ready
Mhm.
because you've allowed that stuff to kind of
Yeah. And
process through.
that's Yeah, and yours is going right back to what we talked about, the
Hmm.
stop, drop, and breathe.
Hmm.
Boom. At that, you start feeling that what you're talking about, that electricity, that aura, whatever all is going on in the world, you start feeling that, it's like, wait a minute, I need to stop, drop, and breathe.
Yep.
Okay, is that something I'm really passionate about?
Yep.
No, I got riled up because I was watching this on TV and they said something, or I saw a news feed. That's really not, yes, I'm not happy with that, but I'm not going to go that deep.
Hmm.
So that's where, again, what you're saying goes right back to the stop, drop, and breathe.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. And so, if you're feeling those things, if you're feeling more edgy, stop, drop, and breathe. Take the time,
mhm.
give yourself permission
Yep.
and time to feel whatever is coming up. Um, and to be with it as lovingly and as compassionately as you can for yourself. Sometimes if somebody, it feels like somebody else triggered something, your mind wants to blame and attack, right? Oh, I can't believe they did
Mhm.
that. Da, 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 da. They shouldn't have done that. Because you don't want to feel bad. And so if you're feeling bad, you want to blame it on somebody else, right? But can we
Mhm.
get out of that and just allow ourselves to feel the vibration that's coming up, whatever that is, and be okay with it and be loving and compassionate towards yourself for having those feelings. Because sometimes people think, oh, I should be strong. I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should, da, 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 da. How do you let stuff get to you? And then that mental chatter can create a block in you really fully
Mhm.
experiencing what's going on. Um, and then sometimes people also play this mind game where they go, "Oh, I'm supposed to experience this because they hear somebody talk about it, and then they want to rush it. Oh, okay, let me experience this so I can get past it." And it's kind of a weird way of playing games with it. But really, just taking the time, being patient with yourself, being loving,
Mhm.
compassionate to yourself, and allowing yourself to take as much time as you need. Sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 days. Sometimes
Mhm.
it could be a week. Who knows? But
Yeah.
allowing yourself to feel the feelings that are coming up, being um, more kind and compassionate to yourself as you talk yourself through those things. Sacred self care. Jacqueline has a book called Sacred Self Care: How to Take Care of Yourself in a Sacred Way, in a
Mhm.
in a really really aware, conscious way. Like, okay, I need this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to take a bath tonight and just soak in it because
Mhm.
I just the
I
Epsom
need that.
salts.
Yeah.
I need
The
that time.
Yeah, the one, obviously I've said it many times, is, the quote, "It's okay not to be okay." I
Yeah.
use that with our swim to the light mental health, with
Hmm.
Xavier, and it's okay not to be okay in multiple different realms. I mean,
Yep.
that I use with mental health. That's okay not to be okay just with the situation you're dealing with, whether it be a
Yep.
coworker. Hey, I'm angry. It's okay to not be okay and feeling well, but you got to do a couple things first. If you can process through it yourself, process it. Stop, drop, and breathe. get through it. If it's something really deep, then get some help, whether it be a wolf pack or counseling
Mm-hmm.
or a therapist, whatever it be. There's
Mm-hmm.
ways to do it. So it's okay not to be okay in all realms,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
don't stay in that realm.
Yep.
Find a way to process and get out of that.
Yep.
So yeah.
So I think does that feel like a wrap?
That feels like I got homework, people.
So Dave took notes. Now he's got homework. Here we go. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
So all of you that are regular listeners, when I'm looking down, it's not that I'm kind of finding a bug or something. I'm writing notes because I'm scribbling stuff when I read it and go like, what did I just write? I don't know what that was. But it all fits in exactly what both of us were talking about, and I think a lot of people have come with is when you get into a situation, don't do a knee jerk reaction. When you're in that stress, okay, don't do a knee jerk reaction. Okay, don't react. And look at the other side. What's going on? Okay, stop, drop, and breathe right then and there.
Yep.
So don't react with a knee jerk. Stop, drop, and breathe, and then look at the other side. What's going on? Okay, is this something that we need to work on? And then finally, the biggest part is hopefully this is one big piece in the week is be. Just be. You're doing something, go like, you may be going quick and like me, going quick in the library, doing this, doing that. Just stop and go like, oh wow, I'm a librarian. This is kind of weird. I may have a ton of stuff I need to get done, but just take and enjoy that moment so that you can enjoy what you're doing. That may not be, oh yeah, I'm so excited about it, I want to be a librarian. No, you're just doing something. Going like, this is so cool. I get to do this.
Yeah.
So
Taking a
definitely take
moment to
time.
smell the roses, as they might say,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Take that moment to be, because then you're not so stressed out about work. You're like, oh, I get to be here. This is kind of fun. Look what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't care. You don't have to be the CEO of a company, the president of the United States. You could be from A to Z, wherever you are. Enjoy that moment. So
Yeah.
whatever it is, okay,
It's
wherever
beautiful.
you are. So yeah. So don't react. No knee jerks. Look at the other side. Stop, drop, and breathe. That's a big one. If you're in a situation, okay, when they feel that stress coming on, the aura that you're talking about in the world, do that. And then step two, another one, whole nother homework, is just be. Enjoy it. Enjoy where you are. So
Give
thank
yourself
you all for
permission. Give yourself permission to just stop and be.
Yeah.
Right. Because mentally, sometimes we feel like we have to be doing all the time. So mentally just saying, you know what, I'm going to give myself a 2-minute break here to just enjoy this
And
moment.
I do that when I was a teacher and as a librarian. I'm going like, I'm go, 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 go. I don't have time to deal with all these people. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. My job is to deal with all these people. I just stop, be like, wow, this is kind of cool. So I got 6 things going. It's kind of hard, but I'm being a part of it.
Yeah.
So let's
It's
just be a
beautiful,
part
dude.
of it and figure it out.
Yeah.
So, and I've blown up. I'm sorry to my fellow colleagues that I have done that to, but they've come back and we've had conversations. And I said, I'm sorry, and so they understand where I was coming from, where they were coming from, and so hey, got to be in the B. Be in the B.
Beautiful.
So, awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys for being here, listening, and hoping you have a great week and keep that smile on. And
hopefully you got something out of this talk, this time together.
Yeah.
We are super grateful for everybody who's joining us on this journey for however much time that might be. And we love you all. And hopefully this is helping. And we'll see you next week.
If you have a story that we could talk to you about, or you'd want to share it sometime, who knows, because you may be able to touch some lives, let us know. Messages, go to YouTube and you can leave messages.
Like and subscribe and comment. All the
go.
YouTube things say like, subscribe, and comment, because it does help it to reach more people. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome. We would love it.
Awesome.
All right.
Have a great week.
Take care.